Oh, so today we're gonna just take a look. It's not really something that we can try out, I guess. We just have to kind of expect that it's gonna work and it's gonna function just fine the way it's supposed to. But we're gonna unbox this little Western Digital Black C50. This is one of the expansion drives for the Xbox Series S and X. So we'll just take a quick look at what it comes with. And then we'll talk about, why you may want one of these and possibly why you may not want one of these. So anyways, this is the C50. Now you can get the Western Digital version in a 512 gig, save yourself a little bit of money, a 1 terabyte and a 2 terabyte. So really, depending on your storage needs for something like that, you can kind of depend or look at the one you want. I, of course, went with the 1 terabyte version. Seemed to be kind of the happy middle, the happy medium, right? So we're just going to crack that open there. Anyways, you can see a few little things on the back, right? Contents, it says, storage expansion for the Xbox. It has, what does it say? A card cover, sweet, and a quick install guide. All right, that's pretty much what's in this, I guess. So there we go. Crack it open. And that's it. You know what? I've never seen one of these expansion cards in person. So I was at that point. I myself actually have an external 2 terabyte spinning drive attached to it for games that are not Xbox, let's say XS needed. So I can run them off that. And then for games that do require Xbox SX compatibility, I guess, I have just a standard external solid state drive. And the reason I have that, of course, is it's just quicker to be able to move files to and from that. So if I'm, at that point where I'm like, I don't think I'll play this game for a little bit, but I probably will soon, I'll move it to that. If it's a game possibly that I'm not going to play for a while, but I do know that I'll play it again, then I will move it to the 4 terabyte because, again, just transferring it back from that to the internal drive is going to be faster than, downloading it from the internet. But, games are just getting bigger, they're getting bigger and bigger. And I'll give you, for instance, right, Call of Duty. If you download the Call of Duty big pack thing that's kind of sits on your machine, I think mine right now is coming in at like 320 or 350 gigs. So, you're almost chewing up like a third or more of the actual internal drive. So, if you got 2 games like that, that's 2 games, and that's with a terabyte, internal drive on it. Now that's an exceptionally large game, but games are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Anyways, so this is what you come with, right? Anyways, that's the drive right there. So it's cool, right? It's small, it's neat. The bonus of these is that, you're going to get the same performance, of course, that you get from your internal drive. So that's good. Comes with a little cover, which I kind of like if you're going to be transferring this around or whatever. Probably especially useful if you have 2 Xbox Series somewhere in the house. Maybe you have one in your gaming room, one in your living room, whatever. So you want to be able to move the games possibly back and forth. And of course, you get a little 2 little manuals, 3 little manuals. I don't even know what these are. This one looks like a Discord invite. This one looks like how you actually put this in. Cool. And this is something for Game Pass. And then there's your manual. But writing on this, so small. No good. Anyways, that's it. Look at that. Just tiny. Yes, it's so tiny. I do kind of like the fact that they added this. It would have almost been nice if it came with like something that, you could keychain this almost, right? Like you get with some USBs so that you could, for the extra 25 cents or whatever that would cost them, to put like a keychain thing on there. That would have been nice, just to be able to carry that with you. So that's all right. So let's actually talk about some of the reasons that you possibly should buy. I'll talk about the Western Digital one, why you should buy this one, or maybe some reasons why you're like, no. All right. So we've unboxed the Western Digital, the expansion card. So again, now let's talk about whether this is actually something that's worth picking up for your Xbox, again, the Series X or S. So with games getting bigger, and the internal storage filling up faster, it's almost a necessity nowadays to have something that can expand it. But is this drive the best option? So let's break down some of the features and the performance, the pros, the cons before you go out and buy one of these. So if you actually own one of the Xbox series, you already know that the storage can fill up fast. Again, with games like Call of Duty, Forza, Starfield taking up over 100 gigs, the built-in storage just gets used up too fast, and it really just isn't enough. Now, while you can use a regular external drive for older Xbox games, you do need an officially licensed expansion card like this, or the Seagate expansion cards to run these next-gen Xbox Series games at full speeds, or at all. Is this the one that you should be considering? So let's actually start with the price. So for years at the beginning, Seagate was the only company making these expansion cards, and they were expensive. The Western Digital has pretty much entered this game with the C50. It's typically priced lower than the Seagate equivalent in regards to the same storage. So if you've been waiting for a cheaper alternative, the C50 here finally gives you at least a second option, usually a better option. And one of the best things about these expansion cards is that there's zero setup. You literally just plug it into the Xbox, into that expansion slot, and your console instantly recognizes it. No formatting, no transferring of files. It just works, right? So unlike a traditional external solid state, the Western Digital here runs, again, at the same speeds as the Xbox's built-in storage. So that means you're going to get faster load times, smooth gameplay, full support for quick resume. And if you hate waiting through long screens, like load screens, this is going to be one of the best ways to keep your games just running as fast as possible. The other one, of course, is, as you can see here, it's super small, right? Super portable. So if you game on multiple consoles, so if you have multiple Xboxes in your living room, or if you have one in the living room, the bedroom, you can just unplug the C50 and move your games to the other console, right? Or take it over to a friend's house, something like that. So let's talk now about some of the things that you should consider before buying. So even though this is cheaper than Seagate's expansion cards, it's still more expensive than if you were to buy a traditional NVMe SSD of the same capacity. And that's because Microsoft's proprietary Xbox Velocity Architect requires these specific cards to get the exact same performance as the internal storage. So while it's an easy plug-and-play solution, you are paying a premium for that convenience. So, is that Western Digital C50 actually worth it? Well, here's my take on this. So if you want an easy plug-and-play storage expansion that's going to give you that same performance as that internal solid state, then yeah, for sure, right? This is one of the best and probably the most affordable options that's out there right now. If you're looking for a budget storage option, you might be better off with a cheaper USB external drive for storing your games and managing your games, and just move them back and forth from the internal drive when you need them, right? But But at the end of the day, it really comes down to how many games you play, whether you want the convenience of that fast storage, that seamless storage. Um, for me, like I said, I have those two different external drives, and I use them primarily, or have used them, of course, for backup storage, being able to play the older Xbox games, right? The Xbox One games, things like that. And then I would just move them, of course, to the internal when you are wanting to play them. But the problem is, of course, now is that the games are just getting so big. So for instance, I had Call of Duty sitting actually on my external 4 TB drive. And when I wanted to play, of course, it said you have to move that to the internal. So at that point, I had to try to free up space. So I had to take a game that was there, move it to the other drive, it was a smaller game just to make sure I had enough space. I had to move it, which took, I think, 20 minutes. And then I had to move a Call of Duty from the external to the internal. And now, because it was on a 4 TB spinning style drive, I think it took almost 2 hours. So by the time it actually moved the game to the internal drive, I just didn't have, any time to actually play the game. So I was watching the clock and it was just, it was going down, but I was like, well, at least I'll play it some other day, I guess. And like we said, with the fact that uh, there are the games are getting so much bigger right now, that again is an issue. Now, the reason I went with the 1 terabyte is I looked at the games that I primarily like to play, and usually I can fit them on the 1 terabyte. Sometimes I have to move a game back and forth just to that internal, right? The internal one back and forth. It just makes sure that they have enough room. So getting an additional 1 terabyte was perfect for me. Now I could have bought the 2 terabyte, but in my own head, it really didn't make a lot of sense for me. Plus, we're probably at least midway or further through the Xbox series generation of consoles. So my thought is that who knows, in a year or two, whatever, I have no idea, right? When the next Xbox comes out, my thought is they'll probably won't use things like this. They probably learned that most people, especially with the speeds now of the NVMe drives increasing and increasing and increasing, it will be just smarter for them to use that style of internal drive, which is going to be way less expensive, which also means that any investment that I made in these is going to be good for the Xbox that I have now, but again, may not be useful for the next generation. I just don't know. So I don't want to invest too much money into this when I don't need it. If I knew for a fact that these cards would be useful on the next generation, then I probably would have went with the 2 terabyte, but just nobody knows that answer. So I figured for now, 1 terabyte, I'm good to go. It was cheaper than the Seagate, which is the reason I bought this one. And I like the fact that there's no setup. Anyways, I'm going to leave you guys there. What are your thoughts? Do you find, if you have an Xbox Series, that the internal drive is big enough? Do you find that the games that you play really, the internal drive or having a slower external solid state drive is good enough? You don't mind moving the files back and forth? Or are you at that point where you're like, I need to start looking for something in the expansion card world that allows me to actually have more than 2 or 3 games on that internal drive? Anyways, I'll put links to where I got this one down below if you're interested. And let me know if you guys use an expansion card in the comments. And I will see you guys next video. Anyways, like, comment, share, subscribe. Of course, that all helps the channel. And I will see you next video. Later.